I think we have some Patriots fans in the comments section because under the last video, both Peter and Sammy suggested Super Bowl 51, aka the 28-3 game, as a video topic. So thank you very much, Peter and Sammy. Let's get right into it and talk about this game. But I do want to start with a little tangent here because we also like talking about sports business on this channel and, of course, sports scandals. And as a Canadian, I have to insert my country wherever I can. But also, I was actually pretty close to this whole situation when it was happening. And I think it's an interesting footnote about this game that you might not know about. And what I'm hinting at is the Canadian broadcast of Super Bowl 51. It had everybody in the country talking. If you're not interested in this part of the story, though, have a look at the description box and I'll have time codes for when we actually get into the Super Bowl game. But in Canada, a little bit of background, we get United States affiliate or network affiliates through our TV providers, right? So we'll get an example that'll come up here is the Fox affiliate in Spokane, Washington actually airs in the province of Alberta as well, but we'll get back to that. However, there is a law that gives domestic broadcast stations the right to demand that those American signals be substituted for their own broadcast, their Canadian broadcast, if they're carrying the same program. The law basically exists to try to protect Canadian advertising revenue from being lost to viewers who are watching the American broadcast of a given program. Right, so again, we get Fox, which is the network that carried Super Bowl 51, but there are separate rights holders in Canada for the Canadian broadcast of the Super Bowl, and that is Bell Media. It's like the biggest media company in the country. And by law, they would be allowed to require that their broadcast of the Super Bowl play on those affiliate channels instead of the original Fox broadcast. And, classically, what they would do, because they've been rights holders forever, what they would do is just play the Fox telecast, but insert Canadian ads, like during the ad break. So you'd get the same feed of the game from Fox, but the ads would be different. Now, in 2016, so just months before Super Bowl 51, the Canadian Radio, Television and Communications Commission, I think I got that right, the CRTC is what we'll call it, they actually banned the Super Bowl from being substituted under that law. They said that that law that I just talked about did not apply to the Super Bowl. The CRTC said that the U.S. commercials, the Super Bowl ads, were an integral part of the game. And also worth noting that Bell Media's feed, like their simulcast of the American channel, often caused, or the American telecast, often caused technical problems. Very notably, the broadcast would have mistimed ad breaks, and so like mistimed transitions back to that Fox telecast that they were using. So you'd actually be missing parts of the games because they were just replacing the ad breaks, and that didn't always work. But as I said, Bell Media had exclusive rights to the Canadian broadcast of the game. So they felt that this ruling by the CRTC devalued its exclusive rights that they were paying for. So they actually brought the case to the Federal Court of Appeal, and they basically said that the CRTC's decision violated Canada's Broadcasting Act, which basically forbids policies being made that would affect or single out one particular program or licensee. However, the court case did not move on time for Super Bowl 51. So the American broadcast would be allowed to play untouched by Bell Media on the Fox affiliates. And as a side note, Bell Media then blamed the CRTC's decision for a series of layoffs in January 2017, saying all these jobs depend on our broadcast of the Super Bowl, and that's a discussion for another time. But if you sort of live, especially in the northern United States, and you saw Canadian companies advertising during Super Bowl 51, that's why. Canadian companies had the idea of, like, I think a couple examples are like a pizza chain that we have here called Pizza Pizza, and like a home improvement store, those types of businesses. They bought local advertising time from the Fox affiliates that were distributed in Canada. So earlier I mentioned Spokane. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Well, the Spokane affiliate is broadcast in Calgary and Edmonton here in Canada, which are actually much bigger markets than Spokane actually is. So it made sense for them to advertise their Canadian brands on local American stations. Now, in the end, viewership of the Super Bowl on the Bell Media English language properties was down by 39% in comparison to Super Bowl 50 the previous year. And because neither Nelson nor the Canadian equivalent called Numeris, they don't calculate Canadian viewership of American broadcasters. There's actually no one keeping track of how many Canadians are watching American affiliate channels that are broadcast in Canada. We can't say for sure if that 39% or more of viewers watched the American broadcast on Fox affiliates. But we do get a pretty good idea that that is the case, especially, if anything, because the French language broadcast of the Super Bowl had similar numbers as the previous year because there was no American broadcasters, American telecasts in French being played in Canada. So I think you could argue that the Canadian interest in Super Bowl 51 was the same as the previous year, and that, that shows that Canadians do want the big Super Bowl ads. And so that's my little tangential story of the Canadian broadcast scandal of Super Bowl 51. I mean, I kind of have to side with the CRTC here, even if the NFL does not. The NFL actually sides with Bell Media, which makes sense because Bell Media pays them for the license. But I do think that, like I said, the Super Bowl ads are part of the bigger show. I mean, you'd never think to replace the halftime show with a Canadian halftime show. People would lose their minds. And the halftime show is basically one big ad for Pepsi, is it not? So, I think if you want people to watch your program, you have to give them what they want, especially as a $40 billion company. You decide if those rights are worth it to you, and you decide, and you can get creative in getting people to watch your broadcast. And at the same time, obviously, I understand, Bell's interest as a for-profit media company to protect those rights. And they tried a couple things during this broadcast, like they had contests where you could win cash to try to incentivize people to watch their broadcast of the game, but obviously, ultimately, that did not work. But anyway, we are here to talk about the game itself. Super Bowl 51, February 5th, 2017, and we're in Houston. On one side, you have the New England Patriots. They are coached by Bill Belichick, and Tom Brady, obviously, is their quarterback. They are playing against the Atlanta Falcons, coached by Dan Quinn, and Matt Ryan is their quarterback. The first quarter is actually scoreless. The longest play from scrimmage is a 37-yard run by the Falcons running back Devonta Freeman. And it actually ends up being the longest rushing play of the entire game, but as I said, doesn't lead to any points. Then the second quarter starts, and the Patriots have possession. But on the second play of the second quarter, the Falcons linebacker, Deion Jones, he strips the ball from LeGarrette Blount of the Patriots. And Robert Alford, hugely impactful in this game, he recovers the football on the 29-yard line. So Atlanta is now in possession. On the next two plays, Matt Ryan completes back-to-back passes to Julio Jones for gains of 19 and 23 yards. Then Freeman runs the ball on the next three plays, which sees him cover a total of 29 yards to the end zone. Atlanta is first to score. It's 7-0. On the next drive, New England doesn't get a first down, and before you know it, the Falcons have possession again. Ryan throws a 24-yard completion to Taylor Gabriel, then an 18-yard pass to Jones, and it's one of those tiptoes on the sideline catches that are really fun and impressive to watch. Eventually, on 3rd and 9, Ryan throws a 19-yard touchdown pass to Austin Hooper, and the Falcons are up 14-0. The conversion after that touchdown was the one where the Patriots player jumped early and he leapt over the line of scrimmage, and the Falcons holder had to take the ball and run, but it was called for illegal formation, which was a little bit controversial in itself, and they got to kick again. The field goal was good. It's 14-0. But that 14-0 was the largest deficit that Brady had ever faced in 7 Super Bowl appearances. But it would get worse. On the next drive, I feel like I'm speeding through this. It's because I've got the excitement of the game. On the next drive, New England manages to make it to the Falcons 23. And that was in part thanks to 3 defensive holding calls against Atlanta. I mean, they're really struggling. Each of those 3 holding calls turned a 3rd down play into 1st down, and without them, they would have barely moved. But still, we end up on 3rd and 6. Brady throws a pass, and Robert Alford just reads it perfectly. He intercepts the pass and returns it 82 yards for a touchdown. That is the 2nd longest interception return in Super Bowl history. It's the first time that Brady throws a pick 6 in 33 postseason games. And worst of all, it's 21-0 for Atlanta in the first half. The Patriots continue to struggle. They do score a field goal with, I think, 3 seconds left in the half, and we go to halftime at 21-3 for Atlanta. Now, quick side note. That was the year of the Lady Gaga halftime show, and I'm pretty neutral when it comes to Lady Gaga, but that is my favorite Super Bowl halftime show ever. My favorite halftime show moment is, I think, 2 years earlier, Katy Perry's halftime show. I'm in the kitchen replenishing my snacks for the second half, and all of a sudden I hear I shouldn't even try to replicate it in ASMR format. Do 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 do. There you go. I'll whisper it. Do 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 do. And I know I recognize recognize that sound immediately. Run back to the TV, and it just makes me so happy to see Missy Elliott. Totally unexpected. I loved it. But back to the game. In the third quarter, at first, possession switches hands a couple of times. Then the Falcons start a drive from their own 15-yard line. Ryan completes 2 passes to Taylor Gabriel for gains of 17 and 35 yards. And I think 4 plays later, Tevin Coleman scores a touchdown. We're not even halfway through the third quarter, and the Falcons have a 28-3 lead. And that's where this game gets its nickname, the 28-3 game, because surely you can't blow a 25-point lead, especially this late in the game, right? On the next drive, Brady and the Patriots go 75 yards in 13 plays, including a 17-yard completion to Danny Amendola on 4th and 3rd to get their first touchdown of the entire game. Brady also ran for 15 yards during this drive, which ended up being the longest rushing play by the Patriots in that game. You would not expect Brady to have the stat of the longest Patriots rushing play in the Super Bowl. But it worked. They did miss the extra point, though. I think it went off the bar. So the score is now 28-9. Big miss for the Patriots. And there's just over 2 minutes left in the third quarter. And New England attempt an onside kick, but it's recovered by the Falcons. The Falcons can't make anything of their possession, though, and they punt on the first play of the fourth quarter. So we have 15 minutes left to play. The Falcons are on a 19-point lead. It's still a 3-score lead for them. The Patriots then managed to bring the ball to the Falcons' 7-yard line, but Brady is sacked twice by Grady Jarrett over the next 3 plays, and the Patriots go for the field goal. It's good. The score is now 28-12, and there is 10 minutes left in the game. On the third play of Atlanta's next drive, 3rd and 1, Ryan is sacked, fumbles the ball, and it is recovered by Alan Branch of the Patriots on the Falcons' 25-yard line. Huge play. Patriots get the ball back. Brady marches the team down the field, and they get another touchdown with less than 6 minutes on the clock. And Brady says they're going for 2. James White takes a direct snap on the 2-point conversion, beautifully choreographed. The 2-point conversion is good, and the score is 28-20. Then the Falcons do go on a pretty nice looking drive, and they end up with a first down on the Patriots' 22-yard line with 4 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock. If they wind down the clock a little bit, take a field goal from here, they can put the Patriots in a really bad spot. But they decide to play on. Presumably, they're looking for another touchdown hoisted by their own petard. Ultimately, Ryan is sacked. Then they get a holding penalty. So all of a sudden, they're on 3rd and 33 from the New England 45-yard line. Ryan throws an incomplete pass, and the Falcons are forced to punt the ball. They've been backed up out of field goal range. The Patriots get the ball back on their own 9-yard line with 3:30 left in the game. And they have 2 timeouts left. They start making their way down the field. There was one pass that was almost intercepted again by Alford, but it bounces off of his hands, goes up, then bounces off of his leg, so it hasn't touched the ground yet. And then Edelman is there, and he stretches out amongst 3 Atlanta defenders and just barely hangs onto it, grabs it. It's a 23-yard completion. Atlanta did challenge that call, but it stood. The catch is good. We keep moving. So now we're past the 2-minute warning. Actually, we'll skip ahead to 58 seconds left in the game. The Patriots score on a 1-yard touchdown run. Brady gets the 2-point conversion pass to Amendola, and the game is tied 28-28. This is the first ever Super Bowl to go to overtime. Super Bowl 51. The Patriots win the coin toss. They elect to receive the ball. And needless to say, the Falcons never get the ball back. The Patriots complete the biggest comeback victory in Super Bowl history with a touchdown on their first possession of overtime. They win the game 34-28. It is their 5th franchise championship, all under Tom Brady. Brady also won his 4th Super Bowl MVP, which was the most won by a single player in history. Of course, he then topped that with a 5th Super Bowl MVP with the Buccaneers. But that is the story of the 28-3 game. So, on Super Bowl weekend, if your team is lagging behind, by 3 or 4 possessions at halftime in the third quarter. Don't lose hope. You might not have Tom Brady, but it's been done before. The comeback is possible. I hope you enjoyed this video. Atlanta fans, my heart is with you. If you want to watch the entire game, it is available on the NFL's YouTube channel, so I'll have it linked in the description box. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, for hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next video.